I have two questions, both as an amateur. Firstly, what is the implication of the artificial intelligence in the manner in which software developers are using it for the free software movement? In the sense of what is the exponential, what is the manner in which it can be deployed by the free software in the way in which one imagines the free software movement as something. You had shown us a graph between copyleft and the Creative Commons permissive and the permissive licensing. Is it possible for AI to shift that balance, given the scale and the magnitude? And the second thing is, when we look at this idea of this, the acronym is going on to my mind, but this idea that I got it free, I modified it free, if you use it, you have to pass it on free. That licensing. Copyleft. Yeah. What are the implications of copyleft for AI? Because AI is a predatory accumulator. It's taking stuff without permission, basically. The way in which it's going about harvesting information, data programs, images, etc., etc. So what happens if copyleft material gets implicated into an AI system? Currently, a capitalist AI system, let's say OpenAI, right? What are have the legal implications of that been considered? If copyleft material has been included or co-opted for use by OpenAI or whatever these other Microsoft are, what are the implications?
So, one point on
Try now.
So, the biggest problem with OpenAI as the most popular AI usage that is there today, as OpenAI themselves have acknowledged, we really still don't know where the content is coming from. Even they have acknowledged that. The kind of content that might be there is, it can be copyrighted content, it can be copylefted content, it can be anything. And they keep training their algorithm based on that. It becomes such a huge legal case if somebody is able to find something or show something that the content that is fed to OpenAI belongs to one or the other copyrighted content. They don't know and we don't. That in a way also paves the way for many more issues. When the institutions, say OpenAI, do not, or they say they are not in a position to announce where this data is coming from or what they have trained it with, you can never imagine the already existing bias in the content.
All that apart, it's a legal sense. If you're saying you're calling it a freedom virus, if you're saying there is copyleft materials in these programs, does this legally make this program copyleft?
Yes. If it is present in copyleft, they are liable to announce their program also in copyleft. So there is no second doubts about it. Not just about the content, but it's all about, we cannot really point out that this particular point has come up from that copyleft license or rather copyleft licensed software. We are not in a position to show it since all of them sit in that one big cloud which nobody has access to. But without usage of any copyleft software, building that kind of system is next to impossible. They are liable.
No, so I just add a point you made correctly. See, the GPL license mandates that you have to pass on the freedom when you give the software to others. OpenAI is not giving you the software, it is giving you service. They have the software with them. You are never going to use the software on your computer. So, they are not legally mandated to release their code in copyleft, even if they are using copyleft. The issue arises only when you redistribute the software. So that's why this whole software as a service that the chat GPT is running in your Google Chrome, the actual software is running on their server. The software is never coming to you. They are never giving the software to you. They are only giving you a service. So they are not mandated to give the OpenAI and ChatGPT code to you if they are only using GPL copylefted software. If they are using a software which is Aforo GPL, then they are mandated. Because the Aforo GPL says that even if you give it as a service, you have to give the software source code. Now there is no way for us to affirm that. And if it is somehow found, then they will be compelled. But I think they are also maybe conscious that they should not be using it. But in any way, proving such things legally will be a hurdle. And I think he rightly pointed out in his speech that there are many such legal battles which have been fought, which keep still going on to sue large corporations for infringement on the rights of the copyleft programs. There have been many such cases. But in this case, if they are just using GPL copyleft, that's the problem the free software movement discovered at a much later stage, that we are not able to fight this. That they can simply take all your software, run the server and never distribute the software. Just give it as a service. That was the problem. And it may still be there, a lot of popular software with the OpenAI. The second point I want to just point out, maybe it was not your point or I misheard it, but still, there are too many people who are worried about job losses with AI, which will happen anyway. But then, when computers came, and particularly to India, the same fear was there. And if you recollect, in this BJP people were taking out bullock cart rallies to parliament saying, in our country we don't want computers, it will lead to job losses. So it's a wrong direct conclusion that any such new technological development always leads to job losses in net. Some people will obviously lose jobs, like those who can't learn the new technology. But overall, whether it will lead to job losses is always subjective.
So I meant you said, for instance, if a large corporation is paying somebody to work on an open source project, then that person will have a different kind of an investment time, etc., to drive the project in a particular way.
Correct.
But with AI and the ability of limiting time, that is, if you are a hobbyist, for instance, the AI is able to multiply your productivity considerably. So what you can do in an hour with AI.
So I'll ask you a simple question. All of you have done Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste. That improved our productivity. It did. It takes no time. Control-C, like 1000 pages, Control-C, Control-V, you have 2000 pages. And replication in no time. That did increase our productivity. You have a spreadsheet. People call it Excel. Excel is a Microsoft brand. A spreadsheet. You have 10 rows, you just drag and drop and it grows like it. Does improve your productivity. So this will improve your productivity. Qualitatively, how is it different? Okay, you ask ChatGPT, give me a source, write a software code for this, it will give you some code. Mostly 90% correct, you have to still fix it. It still does not give you 100% correct code. Now you have to invest time in reading that and improving it. So maybe you now need more skilled people, but that has happened with every other technology innovation. It happened every technology innovation. So people, they make AI out of a really qualitatively different monster, which I don't think it is. It is a monster. Every innovation will bring some drastic change. But then that has happened with everything. When the motor car came, or now when the EVs are coming, or when computers arrived, the personal computer, the mobile, the smartphone. There are too many things, it has replaced too many things. The alarm clocks are gone, the wristwatches are gone, and so many things are gone. And the capitalism still works. So capitalism will not fall because of this.
As you mentioned, Microsoft purchased GitHub, right? And my question is is that GitHub belongs to a group of people to sell that to a particular Microsoft? I mean, what is behind it? You were telling it's open source, right? So it shouldn't belong to some group of people, or there could be a kind of owner, right? What I'm thinking is that what happened, or how they purchased the particular software? I mean,
So GitHub was never open source. GitHub was always a proprietary software. The technology behind GitHub was Git, which was open source. But the GitHub website and the software which ran it was always proprietary in my understanding, and the people who owned it sold it. Am I right?
That's right. But in general,
why the millions of people contributing to the particular website? I mean, it belongs to a particular monopoly company. Then it's no point, right? If not today, tomorrow you may sell the particular codes.
so today the whole point of contributions to GitHub, what's happening is, as Abhijit has pointed out in his presentation, it's about creating your profiles, creating your for better jobs, resumes. So that is the idea of GitHub today. But anyways, so and another question that you have asked about how does the purchase of communities happen? In 2011, we have seen one open emailing system, how it has gone into the hands of one of the monopoly companies, is where each of those programmers were called, entered into a contract with, and the rest of them were asked to fall in line. Few were easy and few were not so easy conversations and contracts. So it wouldn't happen overnight like with a single phone call. That happens over a period of time where people negotiated. The whole point is owning of all the programmers who are part of it. At least a majority of the programmers part of it, and that's how the thing happens.
Like a builder wants to build a large building where 100 people are residing. They are almost always able to take over the land.
So
They find their ways of getting it done.
that's exactly the example that was going on in my mind.
You know, this happens every day. It happens here, there, everywhere. They want to demolish a slum. They'll actually do it in as much legal way as possible to get the approval from most number of residents, and they'll make the state approve a law that not 70% but 50% is okay. Even if 50% plus one person says okay for the land to be given, the rest of them can be evicted. So see, capital always finds its ways of forcing people into submission. Unless the people are really united with a revolutionary ideology and willing to resist it.
But I cannot give any example where it was resisted like that. Do you know any?
Resisted in the software world?
Resisted the nothing. Not even one example where it
I
was
can't
resisted.
remember.
At least
I know VLC.
VLC resisted.
VLC resisted.
It still
VLC
continued to
was
be
mainly developed by one single person with contributions, small contributions from many people. I think everyone knows VLC because it's the most popular movie player. And I think there was a proposal, but you can check it again, to commercialize it, and this fellow said no. So I think there are examples. Yes.
So
I have two questions. So I have two questions. One for So I have two questions. One for Abhijit and one for Siddhartha. So the first one for Abhijit. So Svecha. So even that thing Svecha. So Svecha people earlier resisted and opposed and acted against the free basics project of Facebook.
Then even the Facebook was not that monopoly or not that commercial. Even then they opposed and resisted Facebook to be basis. But in the recent past they are openly working with Meta. So Switcher is also part of activism and free software movement. So where should we find the root cause of all this political bankruptcy? I don't know how to raise it. So your thoughts on that? If that can also add to that, that's fine. The second question to Siddharth. So he rightly said without bypassing only in the post-capitalist society, free software and freedom of everything is possible. So can we conclude from this that we need a political project to overthrow capitalism and have a free software society in a true sense?
And I think you should have asked the questions in reverse. But I think a large number of free software developers, I mean, I personally know many of them in India. There's a small minority of people who are very principled and who would not work for corporates the way other people work. But a large majority of them are anyway, they think that they can achieve both at the same time. They can get the best of both the worlds at the same time. And I think that is what everyone who is in any kind of revolutionary movement also knows, that there are always these type of people who join the revolutionary movement, but they still want to get the best of both worlds. And essentially they end up being the other world all the time. So there is a large number of people, even in the free open source or free software movement, who think that they are winning when the corporates join the open source movement. And secondly, there is always allurement that you can get a better job, you can get more money, you can host a conference, we'll sponsor your food, we'll sponsor your t-shirts, we'll sponsor your venue, and then you can have a nice conference, you can do a big event where a lot of people will come, and that seems some credit. And then when the sponsorship money comes, people will take it. When I was a part of the free software movement, we also did this. I mean, I do it now as a self-criticism, looking back at it. But we felt, what they are imposing no conditions on us. So what's wrong? We are achieving what we want to achieve. So first, there is this false ideological notion which leads to it. And second, obviously, when you have money, you have money. Then the money does its job.
But actually, Switcher worked very hard among the engineering students, like something.
Now you see, because when you grow beyond a certain limit, to grow beyond, you need more money, you need capital. You need infusement of more money. Where will that come from? So there is this concept of crowdsourcing. It is a very bad word actually. Because crowd is a very amorphous word. Crowd means whom? Crowd means anyone. Even Ambani is a part of crowd. You can take money from Ambani, that is still crowdsourcing. You can take money from me, you can take money from a street vendor, you can also take money from Ambani without making a qualitative distinction. So it's a bad word to begin with. If we say funded by masses, that makes sense because masses exclude the capitalist class. But then this free software and open source movement people, they for a long time said will run on crowdsourcing. More than 90% of the crowdsourcing fails. People are not able to raise enough money. It never comes. Then what do? You either leave your attempt or you get the support from those who have capital. That's what happens. Maybe you can add.
So, as Abhijit has pointed out, when it comes to crowdsourcing, Ambani is part of it. We are all part of it. Everybody is part of it. But the only problem here is when only problem is when Ambani or any big monopoly is part of it, they don't give money, they buy you. So when we see any big monopoly corporation part of a social movement or a social idea, we can, from a limited experience that I have in the last 20 years, I can carefully say that it is their fault. Otherwise, they're never going to be on board, as in the monopoly organizations or the social. Am I right? On this second question that we asked on, should there be a political project on this? Free software movement or the free software programmers, from the person who has started the new project, though they claim it is not a political project, anything that deals with means of production relations, cannot claim themselves as a non-political movement. Whether they like it or not, whether they agree to it or not, free software movement is largely political movement. There is no second thought. The point here is, from there, how many days will we delude ourselves that we do not belong to any political aliens, we do not have any political aspiration, we do not have any political ideological backing. How many days do we delude ourselves? Is those many days you cheat yourself and the people who come with you. So, it is a political.
I'll say that the free software movement was quite clear about it being a political movement. I think Stallman often said also that it's a political movement. In my opinion, it was political, he's right, but it was not political enough.
That is a problem.
It was not political enough. That you can't have politics on your own island and think that the world will change. You have to challenge not only software monopoly, but you have to challenge capitalism in general and the state apparatus, without which there is no politics. So it was based on anarchist politics, which fails. So that's how I characterize it. Yeah, there is a need of a larger political project, which, because I'm obviously a Marxist, so I'll say that Marxist revolutionary project, which treats the free software movement as a friendly movement. But if the larger project can only do justice to the free software movement.
Just one point I wanted to add.
One thing.
Just only 1 2 minutes. That's all. Am I audible without this? Yeah, thanks. Sure, at the back also? Yeah. So, on their tryst with Meta, so myself and many people around here were also working very hard, especially during the 2014 movement against the free basics. I missed it in my talk, so I'll just put that again. In 2014, I still remember with the dates, December 21st, when I was going back to home from my work in Gachibowli, we suddenly saw a very big poster showing a person from a rural area, and do you want him to be digitally enabled? If so, give a missed call to so-and-so number. Was the big banner that was there. As a person from the free software ecosystem and being part of it very actively, I was agitated looking at that. With my few family friends who were in that advertising business, I immediately called them, tried to know who owns that big hoarding that's there in Gachibowli. And they also told, you can't deal with that guy, forget about it. He will just advertise anything that you want. Of course, as any other capitalist person, you give him money, they do what they want or what you want them to do. So you can't convince him on ethics and all these things. So forget about it is what they told. And the next thing that we have wanted to do, because this was an extension of an already failed internet.org attempt in 2012 and 2013 by Facebook. So internet.org was a project where Facebook promised free internet in rural areas. How does it look? Any problems with that? No. But the problems is in its details, terms and conditions. As the monopoly lord would have problems with our free software people's terms and conditions on what to do with the software, we the people would have problems with the terms and conditions of what the monopoly had to offer. And this is the first time the monopoly had something free to offer to the people, other than Facebook and Facebook's accounts or Gmail accounts and all in the SaaS models. So here they said, what will be accessible here on Free Basics or on internet.org will be decided by Facebook. Is this neutral? No. So net neutrality was the fundamental thing that was getting abused in the name of free, in the name of internet.org. TROI, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, was against this by taking few suggestions from its people around them, all those committees around them, and they did not agree to it. And many people also wrote against it. These people who wrote against this idea of internet.org were not these people who were having a very socialistic view of future. These were entrepreneurs who had some things to sell on internet. They were worried whether internet.org will be allowing their website to be present on internet.org or not. That's all. There is nothing more egalitarian about it. So there is nothing more egalitarian about it, and that's what. So there is nothing more egalitarian about it. But whatever, there are many small entrepreneurs who wrote against it, and they wrote against it, and you know what happened. Later, internet.org was pushed away twice, not once. And then in 2014, they came with a new name called as Free Basics. This time, look at even the name, Free Basics. And they continued their campaign. So this time, there was not much campaign that was happening. Already these entrepreneurs were already exhausted, writing twice against it. So the only thing that we had to do is go to the roots, bring together all the people, educate all the people in the first point, what happens with Free Basics, and bring a movement against it. There are thousands of people on the road in Gachibowli, which thousands of people were always on the road in Gachibowli to go back to their home or go to the office. But this time, demanding something new, that we do not want Free Basics. Ultimately, TROI again agreed that we cannot allow Free Basics. Until now, that idea did not come back. This was the history of the free software movement in India, which fought against monopoly. I'm not romanticizing it that this is the only big thing that happened. This was the ethics that the free software movement has subscribed themselves to. But the ethics that they are subscribing themselves to today, combining the same people whom we fought against, giving them free access to voluntary labor, voluntary contributions, is something that needs to be thought about.
I just want to add a class perspective to this, a class analysis. There are many sections of the capitalist class. There is a big capitalist class, there is a middle, there is a small capitalist class, there is what we call as the petty bourgeoisie. Even among the big capitalists, there is a regional capitalist class, the national capitalist class, the multinational capitalists. They are all fighting each other all the time. They are fighting for a pie of the surplus wealth produced by the working class. And they have too many contradictions among them. Just to give an example, Jeff Bezos comes to India, but Indian Commerce Minister refuses to meet him because he's under the pressure from the commercial bourgeoisie of India that whether we should have a dealing with that Amazon or not. So they always have their own inner contradictions at work. This contradiction is essentially one of a monopoly versus against more of entrepreneurial capitalist class. What has working class got to do with it? Working class, we say that working class wants jobs, working class wants better wages, working class wants better conditions of life. But given a choice between a monopoly and free competition, working class should choose free competition because it is better than a monopoly. I mean, historically also, if you look at the corn laws in UK, when there were corn laws and there were price restrictions there was restrictions on restricted import of corn, so that the prices of corn in the UK could be controlled to benefit the rich farmers. There was a movement against the corn laws that the import of corn laws should be allowed so that the prices go down. It was started by the industrialist capitalist class, because they said the wages go up when the corn is costly. And then Marx in that situation said we should support the abolition of corn laws because it will lead to more free competition. It's always better for workers because the prices will come down of the food grains. So yes, it's not our fight to begin. We can even begin that fight if it impacts, let's say, our democratic rights, our civil rights, whatever protection we get in a capitalist system. So I think it was the right stand even from a working class perspective to say no to free basics and equal neutral playing field. The internet should be for everyone because it does help us fight our battles in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, sorry, last one.
Sir, thank you so much for giving so much information. My name is Abhijit. You told that free software movement has not been achieved, and basically it's more like technology. And you also mentioned that it is more like a political agenda. And these days, corporates are even hashing the whole game of that game. The smartphone is the best example for that. You don't even get time to think about yourself, right? So, is there a strategy of the government and the corporates to keep the normal human beings entangled in their affairs and try to control the world the way they want to control it? Because with the emergence of AI, it's a big threat to human beings as well as to everything that we do. So, is that a basically agenda of the corporates to make money and the government is not to be involved by using this technology?
Whether we like it or not, corporates have a single agenda, making money. There is nothing else to it. If giving free access to people makes them more money, they let it happen. Or they lobby with the government to let that happen. If controlling them gives them more profit, they let that happen. Today, the second one gives them more profit, and they're letting it happen. That's all. Tomorrow, there can be another thing that would allow making them more money when we let people work freely or think freely or like that. So at a time you might see another social movement that talks about free thinking or some free knowledge movement and something more adding to that. But it all particularly depends upon the corporate's pursuit of profit. Nothing beyond it. The ethics is single point, pursuit of profit. What helps them at that particular point of time is all that matters. They do not think more than 6 months. They do not plan or agenda what should we do for the next 5 years, not what should we do for the next 10 years. That's not at all part of their. How should we answer the capital for the next 6 months? That's all is the agenda. And how is the pursuit of profit for the next 6 months? What works for that works.
Okay, so
Just
we don't have
one minute like that. One moment.
just
I said no. I mean, there are different camps of the capitalist ideological camps. Some may think 6 months, some may even think for a longer future. So they keep competing against each other. But they have always had hegemonic control over how people should think. It's not now. Much before even computers. And people say today people are glued to this. Other you could see people glued to a newspaper or a crossword in a newspaper or a Sudoku or something. Since when TV came, they thought TV would be the way of making people think the way we want them to think. When radio came, they thought the same. So all the mass media, ever since I think first printing press, Gutenberg started, they always see it as a medium of propaganda. And yes, of course, now advancement in technology make it more powerful or easier for them to control it. But then they also make it available to us also to do our propaganda. Of course, we being small are not able to do our propaganda to that level, but then we can also use these tools to our effect.